Hi, my name is Mohammed Firdaus. I am one of your instructor for Object-Oriented Programming course. I will cover Chapter 7, which is File Classes and Stream.
In this topic, we will focus on the concepts of files, data file organization and streams, file classes, read files, and write files. At the end of the course, students should be able to learn about files and use the file classes and streams.
A file is a collection of information stored on a permanent storage device such as hard disk. Some files are data files that consists of facts and figures. Example, staff file that consists of staff numbers, names, and address. Text file can store data as a string and allows us to view the file content using any text editor.
A file is a sequence of records. File organization refers to physical layout or a structure of record occurrences in a file. File organization determines the way records are stored and accessed. For example, a file contains records. Each record has fields. Every record that contains member ID, first name, last name, address, city, and state.
In Java, a file is an abstract data type. A name location used to store related information is known as a file. There are several file operations like creating a new file, getting information about file, reading from a file, writing into a file and deleting a file. The file class is Java's representation of a file or directory path name. Besides that, we also can get other informations about files such as modification date, size of file and file exists or not exists. The file class is included in Java IO package, or we can import specifically Java IO file package. A file object is created by passing in a string that represents the name of a file, or a string or another file object. For example, file my file equals new file, data.txt. File some file equals new file, c, // program / data.txt. The file class contains several methods for working with the path name, deleting and renaming files, creating new directories, listing the contents of a directory, and determining several common attributes of files and directories. Some useful methods for obtaining file information are as below. This is a sample program that implementing class file and its methods. Firstly, create a file, namely my file, associate with the file name some data.txt. Then we can examine the exists or not using exists method. Besides, we can acquire file name using getName method. Moreover, we can make sure the file ready to read, ready to write using CanRead and CanWrite methods. An exception is an event that happens during execution of a program which disrupts the normal flow of program. The basic input-output exception classes are as follows. IO exception can examine signals that IO exception has occurred. File not found exception can examine signals that file could not be opened. EOF exception can examine signals that end of the file is reached unexpectedly during input. Interrupted IO exception can examine signals that IO operations have been interrupted. A method catches an exception using a combination of the try and catch keywords. A try-catch block is placed around the code that might generate an exception. The syntax for using try-catch looks like the following. The code which is prone to exceptions is placed in the try block. When an exception occurs, that exception occurred is handled by catch block associated with it. Every try block should be immediately followed either by a catch block or finally block. Meanwhile, a catch statement involves declaring the type of exception you are trying to catch. If an exception occurs in protected code, the catch block, or blocks, that follows the try is checked. If the type of exception that occurred is listed in a catch block, the exception is passed to the catch block much as an argument is passed into a method parameter. For example, if you use file class in your program to read data from a file, if the file specified in its constructor doesn't exist, then a file not found exception occurs, and the compiler prompts the programmer to handle the exception. In Java, concept of streams is used to represent the ordered sequence of data and a common characteristic shared by all I/O devices. A stream is a sequence of data, of no particular length. Streams are categorized into two types. 1. Input stream, to read data from a source. 2. Output stream, to write data to a destination. Input-output related classes are defined in Java I/O package. There are three standard streams. 1. Standard input, which is we can use system in command. This stream is used to read input data to user's program by using keyboard. 2. Standard output, which is we can use system out command. This stream is to write output data produced by the user's program to the screen. 3. Standard error, which is we can use system error command. This stream is to output the error produced by the user's program. There are two stream classes that we can implement. Firstly, byte streams. This class can be used to read and write of 8-bit bytes. The classes involves our file input stream and file output stream. Secondly, character streams. This class can be used to read and write of 16-bit Unicode. File reader and file writer are classes in this category. These classes can read-write 2 bytes at a time, which is more faster than byte stream classes. In summary, a computer file is a collection of information stored on a permanent storage device such as hard disk. The basic I/O-related exception classes are EOF exception, file not found exception, interrupted I/O exception and I/O exception. Input-output in Java is defined in terms of streams. Input-output related classes are defined in Java I/O package.